Hello, I am John Najarian, and Rebelcon 2022 is almost here. We do have a virtual pass. The virtual pass gives you full access to everything, all the streams, the live trading sessions, all of our fabulous keynote speakers. So to learn more about what's going on at Rebelcon 2022, whether you're in person or virtual, check out marketrebellion.com/Dallas.
Good morning, I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion. And I know I was gone yesterday. I apologize. It was a busy day. We did a lot of video stuff and some of the things that are going on in the world with streaming and everything else, just a really busy day. But I don't want to dismiss what happened on Tuesday. So we're going to go all the way back to Tuesday. Obviously, Monday was the holiday. We were not in session. We got another one of those head fakes, right? We had the markets that were moving to the upside, only to turn and fall again to the downside. So we were up strong across the board, gave it back, finished the day down about 175 for the Dow, finished almost 100 points, about 85 points on the NASDAQ to the downside. We had crude that was kind of hanging around that 87 level, nat gas holding right a little bit around that $8 level as well. We had volatility around and near that 27, along with what we would see, which was a spike in the VXN, the volatility of the NASDAQ. That was up there at around 33.5. And of course, the 2-year and the 10-year were continuing that creep to the upside. Communications, energy, those were your leaders to the downside. Throw in a little technology as well as financials. That's going to push you down a little bit further. Again, it was names like 3M pulling on the markets. Moderna was pulling on the markets. Netflix, Baidu, JD, PDD, all those usual suspects were parts of the reason of why we were seeing that market as it turned. Those were some of the leaderships that were pulling to the downside. Then you get into yesterday. We get into Wednesday. We didn't finally have that turnaround. As a matter of fact, we started to go to the upside early. We continued. We accelerated. We finished the day on the Dow up over 435 points. A nice, big, strong move. But how about the move that we got out of the NASDAQ? And that's where we've been really focusing, because that's where a lot of the punishment has been coming from. We look over at the NASDAQ. That was up well over 2%, 246 points to the upside yesterday. You got crude oil getting absolutely hammered yesterday. As just mentioned, Tuesday we were around 87. Well, yesterday we were around 82. Gives you a little bit of an idea of the hit that they were really taking. A little bit of a pullback in the 2-year and the 10-year. I wouldn't call it anything huge, but it never does seem to move in a monstrous way, but a little bit of a pullback there. We had a little bit of a pullback in the volatility. We were talking about 27s. Then we were moving back underneath 25. Volumes, about 40 million contracts, right around there, just underneath that. That was a nice volume day as well. We are back, baby. I'm telling you, we're back to school, and everybody is now back into the trading, and everything is starting to click once again. Again, that 40 million contracts yesterday, a very nice number. Consumer discretionary. Yeah, that's going to be a leader when you look at the NASDAQ and see that big 2% move or better. Consumer discretionary, that was up about 3% yesterday. Names like Target and Tesla and Amazon, and you go through the list, a lot of strength there. Then you look at the materials, up nearly 3%, call it 2.75% yesterday. Letter X, U.S. Steel, that was just ripping to the upside, 5.5%. ArcelorMittal as well, a nice move to the upside. Then you look at the communications, another space that we oftentimes are looking to for some of the tells of the NASDAQ. You have Twitter up 6.5%. You have Snap ripping to the upside. You had Netflix, you had Meta, all moving strong to the upside. That was really the big push that we had. Obviously, energy with that turn that we were talking about in crude, that was down about 1%. Technology had a pretty good day, up over 1.5%. There was the Apple news. Everybody's looking around at the new iPhones and all the watches and everything else. I don't know. As an Apple guy, I can tell you, and a guy who's been trading it since, going back to 1993, very interesting. I don't know if this was one of those that you really just say, wow, the fireworks are going off. But there was some interesting things that did come out of that. When we look at some of the drags of yesterday, well, it was definitely in the energy space. Names like Chevron, part of the Dow, that was in big negative territory, but not enough to really pull on that Dow that we talked about, well over 400 points to the upside. Those beta names were getting hit as well, APA and then Halliburton. And go through that usual list. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. but there was strength, not just in Twitter, but in raw stores. We had some strength in Netflix. We had strength actually for the first time in a while now for 3M after getting pounded and pounded and pounded. That was a name that actually stuck out, and that's certainly an influence on the Dow itself. You got Nike, you got Boeing, you get the idea. A pretty nice move yesterday across the board, and a move that held on, which is something we hadn't been seeing early on here. Are we getting another head fake, but in the other direction? We have the markets down about 230 points in the pre, down about 110 points for the NASDAQ. And all we've done is get a little bit better and a little bit better. And right before coming on here, we were down about 50 points on the Dow. We were down about 10 or 15 points on the NASDAQ, just starting to make that move to the upside. So is it a head fake from where we started the day down a couple hundred points, or is this just a teaser and it's going to pull back? We'll see how this all plays out. I can tell you this, volatility, right around that 25.5 level, but that eased back into the 24s. Then you look at the 2-year and the 10-year. Let's just list where they are now. We got the 10-year right around a 3.26. You got the 2-year about a 3.48. A little bit of an increase there, but not a whole heck of a lot. Not a lot of movement there. Nat gas right around that $8 level, which I think is surprising a lot of people as we were approaching 10 and then we were holding into the 9s, and here we are all the way back towards 8. Bitcoin around 19,000. Now, what is the move? Why are the markets moving from that negative triple digits to where we are right now? Communications certainly flipped around pretty nicely. It was down well over 1%, down about 0.5%. Materials were down over 1%, down about 0.5%. Consumer discretion was down 1.5% or thereabouts, and now almost flat. That gives you a little bit of a sense of what's really going on in the markets. Financials really started to rip. They weren't very much movement early on. Now almost up 1% as well. You got names like Moderna and Freeport Mac. You got Biogen. You've got all those beta names in the energy space as that has bumped up a little bit up towards 83 as well. Zscaler, JP Morgan, one of those names that's starting to make a nice move to the upside. Not everything is perfect, though. McCormick, everybody knows McCormick, all those seasonings and everything else, that's getting hammered pretty good today, along with the pullback in Netflix and Dish and a couple of those names. I was a little concerned early on when I look over at some of the chip space as well. Names like Micron, Intel, AMD were in negative territory early on. So we'll see how things change as we get through this first hour, but also through the rest of the morning and then into the afternoon. And we'll see how things shape up then. Here's an interesting thing. Before coming on here, every single unusual option activity at the Market Rebellion Unusual Option Activity Elite site was positive. Everything was a bullish trade. Buying calls, buying calls, buying calls. I got two for you today. How about this? Twitter. It's trading right around 41.70, so underneath 42, obviously. These expire tomorrow, by the way. They bought a buyer of 10,700 of the 42.5 calls. It's not going to have to make a very dramatic move to the upside. It's already been on that path, though, because remember, Twitter was not too terribly long ago sitting in the upper 30s. Here we are already over 41, get 41.70. We've got a buyer of 10,700 of those calls expiring. Let's make sure you understand that. Today's Thursday. These expire tomorrow, but they're 30 cents up to about 50 cents for those options. Snap, another one. That was trading around 12.36. We've got the 12 calls, but this is much different, all the way out to November. So there is time premium and the fact that these are in the money calls. The stock is trading well above where these calls are. They're 12 strike calls. These are the 12.36 where the stock is. 5,000 of those November 12 calls, 210 up to about 216 for those options as well. So very, very different ends of the spectrum when it comes to time frame. You're looking at Twitter, these expire tomorrow. You're looking at Snap, you're going all the way out to November. Folks, if you don't understand that, you really do need to understand that, because that's what makes the derivatives market so great if you have an understanding of all the different things that go into the pricing of these options. We love seeing you each and every day here on The Take. I look forward to seeing you at 1 p.m. Eastern, always. John and I are going to be back. Rebel's Edge, we've got some great stuff in front of us. we had to literally, we already have talked about all the topics, and we had to shave it down because we always want to have 4. We want it to be fast. We're going to do that macro minute, which is all kind of garbage, but we'll all get through that thing. We'll start a little snooze fest for that 1 minute, and then we'll get into the real action, and we'll get to the unusual, and we'll get to the sports. Got a lot in sports. We got college football, NFL football, NFL kicking off tonight. We still got to cover everything that's going on throughout the rest of the weekend as well. See you then. Guys, have a great day of trading.